Are you moving to Northern Virginia and you want the whole process to be as easy and smooth as possible? Well, in this week's video, I'm gonna share with you some common mistakes you're gonna want to avoid when moving to Northern Virginia. And make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because hands down, avoiding this last mistake will save you the most amount of time, pain, and hassle when moving to Northern Virginia. And we're getting started right now. Hey everybody, it is David, your favorite realtor. You know it. It's another beautiful day right here in Northern Virginia. And if it's your first time here in my channel, please hit that subscribe button, because every week I release videos was like to live, work, play, pros and cons, top neighborhoods, cost of living, basically everything that you need to know about living right here in Northern Virginia. So, because of this YouTube channel, I've helped so many families and individuals relocate to Northern Virginia from all over the country and even the world. And some people have made the move here a lot smoother than others. And I know moving to another state can be very stressful, give you some anxiety. But over these past couple years, I pretty much have this relocation process down pat. So in this video, I'm gonna kind of dive into some common mistakes I see a lot of people make when they're relocating to Northern Virginia. And you're definitely gonna wanna avoid these mistakes. So let's get the video started right now with the first mistake you're gonna wanna avoid when moving to Northern Virginia. And that's gonna be buying a home 100% virtually. So what do I mean by buying a home all virtually? That's basically the looking stage to closing, all done online. And even looking at homes, basically what we're gonna do is look at homes via like a FaceTime app or something like that. Even doing the home inspections via FaceTime. And you're not actually gonna see the home until closing. So now I understand some people have to do this, buy a home virtually, especially if you live on the West Coast or even relocating here from another country. It's hard to make the trip to Northern Virginia. But the reason why I don't recommend this is, yes, we can see some stuff when I'm there, via FaceTime. Like I can tell you, hey, John, the house smells bad, or some power lines very close by, or it's a little bit of a weird looking neighborhood. Yes, I can tell you those things, but if you're gonna spend $700, $800, even $1 million on a house, you're gonna want to see it before you sign on the dotted line. So that's why I don't recommend it. Now, it hasn't happened to any of my personal clients, but I've heard a lot of horror stories through other realtor friends of mine where they had a client buy a house 100% remotely, and when they finally got to see the house after closing, they 100% regretted that decision. Because yes, pictures are great, FaceTime is great, but you want to see the house in person. Now I'll share with you a pro tip if you actually have to buy a house virtually. I would say the best practice is, yes, you can look at homes via FaceTime or pictures and etc. You can go on a contract, virtually, very easy. Now, however, here in Virginia, pretty standard home inspection periods, 5 to 10 days, that time frame. So if you get a home inspection contingency, then I recommend fly to Northern Virginia. It'd be worth every single penny and the time. That way you get to see the house, you get to do your home inspection, and that way if you don't like it, you can cancel the contract with no penalty. This is way better than not seeing the house until closing. Now, the next mistake you're gonna wanna avoid when moving to Northern Virginia is not coming here for a scouting trip. This is hands down my biggest recommendation to folks moving to the area is, if you're not familiar with Northern Virginia, definitely come here for a long weekend. It'll be worth every penny and time. Come for a long weekend, just drive around all of Northern Virginia, and it's gonna help you with a few things. First is, it'll help you decide if Northern Virginia is a place for you and your family or not. And then another thing you can do during the scouting trip is drive all over Northern Virginia, and you can pinpoint neighborhoods and areas that you would love to live in. And just as importantly, you can find areas and neighborhoods that you have no desire to live in. Northern Virginia, it is a huge area. I've talked about this in other videos. It's actually the size, it's actually a little bit bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So it's a huge area, and you definitely don't want to live in the wrong area, because you're gonna regret you moved to Northern Virginia that quickly. So come here for a scouting trip. It is hands down the #1 tip I can give you if you're thinking about moving to Northern Virginia. Next on the list is be prepared for a high cost of living. Northern Virginia is one of the most expensive areas in the country. And most likely you're relocating here because of a nice job opportunity where you're gonna get a nice pay increase. But I've had people reach out to me and they're coming from somewhere in the South where the cost of living is very inexpensive and they're only getting a very small pay increase to move here. And then I ask them, you gotta make sure it's worth moving here for that small pay increase. And they'll also ask me, hey David, can you help me find a rental 2-bedroom under $1,500? And I'll say, unfortunately not, that does not exist in Northern Virginia. Or, hey David, can you find us a single family home for under $400,000 in a great school district? Again, unfortunately that does not exist here. It may exist where they're coming from, but unfortunately it does not exist here. So you gotta be prepared for the high cost of living and make sure it is worth it, that your pay increase of moving here is gonna cover for the new high cost of living. Now, before I dive into the next mistake, I want to tie in these last mistakes that I talked about. A lot of people ask me, hey David, should I move to Northern Virginia? Now, obviously I can't answer that question for you, but I do say this. All right, come here to the scouting trip. If you've done the scouting trip and you actually like the area, and then you're prepared for the high cost of living, I always say, ask yourself this question. Will the move be worth what you're leaving behind? If you can answer yes to that question, you've done the scouting trip and you love it, and you're prepared for the high cost of living, then I 100% say make the move to Northern Virginia. Now, the next mistake you're gonna wanna avoid when moving to Northern Virginia is shop your movers. Now, if you already live in Northern Virginia and you're moving from Alexandria to Ashburn, it's pretty easy to find movers and get a great deal. But if you're relocating here from, let's say, California, you don't wanna get the least expensive movers of all time, because I've seen some horror stories. I've had clients, they have their house ready, they're ready to move in, but they didn't get their furniture and all that stuff until like 2 or 3 days later. So basically the moving company they hired was way late because they went with the least expensive company. Now, I'm not saying go with the most expensive company out there, but you want to make sure who you're hiring to do your moving is a very well reputable company, a lot of great reviews, because this will save you a lot of time, hassle, and not to mention you don't want to be in your beautiful house with no furniture. Next on the list is consider a short-term rental. So the first mistake of this video was buying a home 100% virtually. Now, one way to counteract that is you move here, you have a short-term rental in place. That way you're looking at homes right here, being boots on the ground, and that way you're not making a mistake buying a home that you instantly regret. A great place for short-term rentals here in Northern Virginia is Airbnb. Now, we're not the Airbnb capital of the world, but there's still a lot of Airbnb options out there. And I'll give you a pro tip on how to save some money. So you go to Airbnb, kind of find what matches your needs, and don't pay the daily rate. What you do is you reach out to the owner and say, hey, I'm not looking to stay a couple nights. I'm looking to stay 2 or even 3 months. A lot of times you'll get a nice little discount since you're staying there long term instead of just like a long weekend. So that's one of the best recommendations I can give you if you're thinking about moving to the area is have a short-term rental in place. Now, hands down, the #1 mistake you're gonna wanna avoid is not reaching out to me sooner. So many times folks will reach out to me and say, hey David, I'm moving to Northern Virginia tomorrow. I need a house yesterday. Now, I'm gonna try my best to help you out, obviously, but the sooner you reach out to me, the better. What we're gonna do, we're gonna jump on a Zoom. I'm gonna talk about what your goals are, why you're moving here, what you're looking for in a home, what your ideal time frame is, and we're gonna make the whole process as easy and smooth as possible. I don't care if you're moving here a year from now. The sooner you get to me, the smoother your move to Northern Virginia will be. Like I said, I have this whole process down pat. This is literally what I do all day, every day, besides making awesome YouTube videos about living in Northern Virginia. But yes, reach out to me, shoot me a text, you can give me a call, you can shoot me an email, you can even schedule a live Zoom call with me. Just know I got your back when you're moving to Northern Virginia. And if you want to learn more about living right here in Northern Virginia, check out these videos right here. They're gonna be great resources for you, and I'll see you on the next video.